single woman over 40 and you're just tired of playing all those dating BS games and you just end up chasing after unavailable guys all the time, this episode is for you. Today we're going to talk about best practices for developing your intuition, and we're even going to do some practical exercises. Welcome to episode 4 of season 3, and season 3 is all about your intuition, and it is the fastest track to find Mr. Right and to help you to stop getting involved in those, merry-go-round patterns where you keep chasing after guys who are not available or ending up in the same kind of relationship over and over again. And today we're going to talk about the best practices. Again, you can go back and listen to the first couple of episodes to get the foundational pieces if you haven't done that yet. And if you've been following along with me, that's really exciting because we're going to dive into some practical stuff today and really figure out what do I need to do to really develop my intuition so that I can use it to help me find love and find Mr. Right. My story briefly is that I developed my intuition through many different mentors and learning about it over the decades, starting when I was pretty young. And when I became a Reiki teacher, doing my Reiki attunements, which is just really opening up your energy and what they call the life force energy, and being able to tap into it was what really opened up my energy for me. I used to be a holistic nutritionist. I would go to all of those annual conferences and trade shows. I remember one year getting a booth and sharing it with some other practitioners, and they were like, let's do some readings for people. And I was absolutely terrified. We're going to talk about some of the things around best practices and developing your intuition. And one of the major things is that you feel like a total fraud, or you feel like, oh, this is just, I'm imagining this, or I'm making this up. If you're experiencing that, especially when it comes to dating and you don't know what to trust and you're like, oh, this is just my imagination. I've been there so many times and I want to help you through that so that you can actually use it and develop it and hone this skill so that you can find a beautiful relationship that you truly desire. That's what I really want for you. We're going to move through a framework that I developed over the years that is just a very simple 3-step process, and it's awareness is step 1, acceptance is step 2, and connection is step 3. And so if you circle through these 3 pillars, you'll be able to really develop your intuition in all areas of your life, but also specifically in love, because I am a dating coach and I really want to help you find love. And of course, this includes self-love. This includes being connected to yourself. That's why connection is one of the pillars, because it's that ability and skill that you develop to connect deeply with your true self, and ultimately this will help you to connect to others also. So that's the framework we're looking at, and it really involves just awareness of what you're getting. If this is an intuitive message, you want to be aware of what is the message, what could it mean, and just really diving into that awareness piece, and maybe awareness of what you might have listened to or not listened to in the past. For example, if you were always in your head and kind of listening to your mind and going around in circles, you want to be aware of that pattern. That's where the awareness comes in. And then I always tell people you don't want to use your awareness to start beating yourself up. And that's why part 2 is acceptance. You want to be able to accept yourself and accept everything up until this point. Please use your awareness to move into that self-love, to say, that's okay. I accept everything that I have been through and everything that I have done, the choices I've made that I might not love that I've made, and, following the wrong advice or whatever it was. You really want to accept yourself. And that's why that's the second piece of my framework. And then the third part is the more you can connect to yourself, the more you can form these best practices and daily practices and having a daily routine that involves connecting in with yourself, you're going to see how amazing your life will be the more you can connect to your true self. And then this will automatically create a best practice for being very intuitive and for getting better and better every day at being intuitive, for your own good. Maybe you're good at being intuitive for other people, which is what the case was for me. I was very good at tuning in and being intuitive for other people, but that's why I called myself, up until in my early 40s when I met my husband, I called myself the Hot Mess Express. because I was just all over the place. And even though I was very good at tuning in for somebody else and saying, oh, this is what I'm seeing for you as the best course of action or whatever it is, for my own life, it would just be really not working for me. So that's a good way to look at this overview of using this framework of these 3 pieces so that we can dive into more today around the exercises and best practices to developing your intuition. Let's go back to the mind and talk about mindset for a minute. When you develop your intuition, the best practice is always to be focused on your heart and to go into your heart as much as possible. You want to be able to connect to that deep part of you that holds your true desires, that holds that loving vision for yourself, the beautiful relationship that you envision, that you have been maybe longing for, or maybe you've had it and now you no longer have it and you want it again. Whatever the case is, your heart is going to be giving you the bigger picture. Your heart is going to be giving you a beautiful roadmap, so to speak. And your intuition is closely related to that. The more you can actually be in tune with your heart, the more accurate and the more loving and the more easy your path is going to be when you're looking for love versus being in your mind. We've talked about this before in several episodes. I like to say the mind is really unreliable. Your mind is just a collection of thoughts that are going rapid fire, and they're usually, counterintuitive and they're contradictory. One minute you'll have one thought about something, the next minute it'll be a totally different thought. It's not a reliable way to move forward with a plan, even though we think, oh, our mind is so logical. Our mind is going to help us with everything. Well, it's not really a loyal and reliable source of, giving you a plan, because it's not going to give you a roadmap. It's going to be all over the place and ping-ponging back and forth. Well, the best practice is to focus on your heart and let your mind take the back seat. That's very important. The second thing around mindset is no matter what, I want you to believe in the messages that you're getting. I want you to believe in yourself, because your intuition is that part of yourself that knows all the answers. I want you to try to start a new practice, and I've been through this before, where I did not trust myself. I had a huge amount of self-doubt. I did not know how to trust myself. Believe me, I know that this is not easy, but everything changes when you start to give yourself that benefit of the doubt and say, okay, I'm going to believe my intuitive messages, even though they seem strange. They seem like, my mind is saying, oh no, this is my imagination. I made this up. And going past that and saying, well, you know what? I'm going to give myself a chance. I'm going to just see what this intuitive message is giving me, what it's leading me towards. And I'm going to invest in myself and start believing in my own intuitive messages. And it's like, why not? Up until this point, things have not been working, or you haven't found what you're looking for. If you're listening to this podcast, you probably have had struggles and issues around relationships and finding a beautiful, lasting love. If you've tried out your head and you've been trying to be very logical about it, or trying to go about, the way other people told you to do it, and it hasn't been working, why not try your intuition? Try being in your heart and letting your intuition lead you. And then the emotions are another really important part of this for best practices. You need to clear and process your emotions. That is key. That's the one thing that was really missing from what I was doing, and why I would say I was a hot mess, is because I had so much of a buildup of old emotions. And that's why I have different guided meditations that I offer people, like clearing your old relationship patterns and, one on dating anxiety and different things like that. And the reason for that is we need help sometimes to clear out our old emotions. We need to really focus on letting things go and doing it in a somatic kind of way, meaning letting it leave your body, not having your body and your emotional body, if you want to call it that, crowded with energy and emotions. It just makes it so difficult to be able to hear your intuition and to figure out what's what. If you've had a lot of confusion and you're like, I don't know what my intuition is saying. I don't know what I should do. If you're filled with this self-doubt, then you need to clear out some space. It's telling you that you need to release some anger, some rage, jealousy, something that's been holding you back for a period of time that you've been, ruminating about an old relationship. A lot of women I've worked with have had a lot of trouble letting go of their ex, or letting go of the promise that they thought that they were going to get with that past relationship, and letting it go just feels painful and hard to move on. Best practices would be to clear that space, to clear out some emotions. And practices I love to use for that are journaling, just really allowing yourself to write out, how am I feeling? And what is my heart telling me? What do I need to release today? What can I create space around? Those are some journaling prompts that are very easy, and just allowing yourself to do free flow journaling is very simple, but yet very powerful. It lets you release those emotions that you no longer need. And another practice I love to do is tapping. So emotional freedom technique. A lot of people have used this over the years, and I like to use it the way my mentors taught me, and that's using just one tapping point. You pick one, for example, your chin. If you're watching the video, tapping your chin as a tapping point, and then just starting to talk about a certain thing that maybe you were upset about. For example, it's like, you're tapping while you're talking. I feel very upset about so-and-so who I was with, and I thought we would be together forever, and I thought we would be married and have kids, and he dumped me, and I was in my 30s, and it was devastating. And just kind of talk yourself through the experience. And what'll happen is the emotions will come up. The tapping will bring up the emotional experience and will release it for you. You can feel a huge amount of relief and a huge release when you do EFT. And that's a really beautiful practice that I love to use still to this day. And then I want to, remind you, this may be something that people talk about. It's a buzzword all the time, but using emotional boundaries, which means always trying to figure out, what is my emotional boundary? What am I feeling? And where am I picking up other people's feelings? If you're listening to this, you're probably a very intuitive and empathic. I did an episode on what's the difference between empathy and being intuitive. You can go back and listen to that. I think it was episode 1 or 2, where I talked about distinguishing between being empathic, which is being very tuned in to other people, versus being intuitive. That intuition is about you. It is helping you tune into you. Part of that practice is having emotional boundaries. A very simple exercise can be, is this me? Is this what I'm feeling? Is this sadness part of me? And a lot of times when you even just say that, it will drop off. It will just be like a release, because it's like, no, it's not. I'm not even feeling sad right now. That's not even mine. Just asking, is this mine? Is an amazing emotional check-in, and it's an emotional compass, and it's a way to give yourself boundaries. Because when you realize that's not even my sadness, that's because I've been hanging around, my mother or my sister or my friend who's really sad right now. And it's okay to be empathic. In other words, to understand that that person is going through sadness, but not to feel the sadness in your own body. You don't have to feel the sadness and take it on and carry it around with you to be a very compassionate and loving person. That's a definite best practice, is to learn your emotional boundaries and also your energetic boundaries. Energetic boundaries, if you haven't been keeping up good energetic boundaries, you will feel constantly exhausted, and I'm feeling like fatigued. Or if you're the kind of person that says, oh, I go to a party and I come home and it takes me 2 or 3 days to recover. And I'm not talking from drinking, I'm talking just from being there. Or you go to, an amusement park and you're just like, I'm so tired and I have a headache and I'm just like out of it. That is a definite red flag that you're not taking care of your energetic boundaries. Some good practices around that would be to spend time in the morning grounding yourself. It could be visualizing roots growing into, like, through your feet into the middle of the earth, asking yourself to, be in your body. It could be an intention in the morning saying, I'm in my body, and closing your eyes and putting your hand on your heart and just feeling into your body and being very focused at being fully in your body. And that's a beautiful exercise to do all the time to help you with your energy. And then at the end of the day, you can take stock of releasing. So you can even just give yourself an intention. I'm going to release any energy that is not mine. Or you can say, I release any and all unnecessary energy now. And that can be your little mantra at the end of the day to release anything you may have picked up and might be holding on to. Okay, these are very important pieces so far on best practices, and it's really a holistic way of looking at your life. And even though this is focused on your love life and finding love and cultivating self-love and confidence and reducing self-doubt, it is still a holistic way of living. It is a way of being in the world, and it includes all areas of the life. When I'm talking about these best practices, I'm really talking about a foundational way of living so that you can be really tuned into yourself while having an open heart. Because we do not want to shut down. We do not want to shut our heart down if we feel like, oh, I'm too sensitive or I'm too empathic or whatever it is. I can't handle this. You need to be open. That's how you receive in life. That's how you connect to other people. You have to be open in some ways, and you have to know when to, so-called protect yourself. Like, I wouldn't really even focus on protecting yourself. That is very closed off. It's very shut down. You're not going to be open to the ebb and flow of life. You're not going to be receiving. You're not going to be connecting in a very deep way to others if you are shut down or if you are protecting yourself. These are just things to keep in mind. This is something that's a work in progress, as all the things that I teach, all the things that I talk about. It's a work in progress. Sometimes you have a bad day and you're completely shut down and you're exhausted and you're like, I don't ever want to go on a date ever again. I don't ever want to talk to anyone. I just want to, get a tiny house and live in the woods or something like that, and I've been there many times. And then you just pick yourself up and the next day you just start again. And this is where the acceptance piece comes into my framework. You want to always be circling or cycling through these 3 pillars of awareness. Am I on a day of awareness right now? Am I just really aware of all my patterns? And then the next day you're like, well, I feel really loving towards myself. I'm really accepting everything I've done up until now, and I feel really loving towards myself. That's being in the acceptance part of this. Or some days you're like, I just feel so connected. I feel connected to the world, to nature, to other people, to myself. And it just really doesn't matter. You can be cycling through any and all of them at any given time. And that is a way to stay in your best practice and to develop your intuition more and more and more. If we break it down into a practical sense, if we want to talk about, okay, what actions are we going to take and how do we do this? How do we develop our intuition? I would say stay in touch with your body and your emotions and staying active and moving your body. You need to move your body in order to keep it, the energy flowing. If you've ever gone to acupuncture, you know that the whole premise of healing through acupuncture is to make sure the chi, or the life force, is flowing through your body in a beautiful way. And the only way that's really going to happen is if you're keeping your body moving in some way, shape, or form. And I want you to always practice testing your intuition. It's not really going to do you any good if your intuition keeps saying, oh, here's a message and here's another message and maybe try this or try that, and you never listen to it. You have to take a chance and test it. Do this in a very small way. Start it with baby steps. Maybe you can say, show me a sign today of what is one small thing I can do today towards finding a relationship. And then be open, be aware, be in your awareness for that day and see what comes up. And say someone says to you, they phone you up and they say, hey, I just heard about this new event coming up and it's XYZ, whatever. Do you want to come with me? That would be a direct answer to test. If you're like, no, forget it, I don't want to go, then obviously you're not going to be, your intuition's going to be like shut down again. Well, if you test it, if you put it out there and say, I need help, that could be your ask for the day. I need help finding love. I don't know what to do. I don't even know where to start. That could be your prayer or your ask for the day. And then stay open, get into your awareness. If something strange comes up that has nothing to do with love, like, all of a sudden you have an opportunity to cook or do something for a family, or maybe it's, some charity thing or totally different, it seems off topic to love, do it anyway, because this is how your intuition works. Your intuition builds and, brings you towards what you want step by step. A couple more things for best practices is stop controlling it. I used to be like, well, I'm going to leave it open, to the universe for me to meet someone. And then, my intuition would be like, well, try this out or try that out, or, go to this event or go to this city. And I'd be like, nah, I don't want to. No. I need to meet someone right here, right now, in the next 2 weeks. That's it. And I was really, really trying to force things, trying to control things, and I was refusing to be open and ready for what the universe had for me. If it seems inconvenient, it probably is, because usually getting you out of your comfort zone to find something you've never had before is going to require you to do some things different and maybe some inconvenient things. And then the last part is to stop apologizing for other people in order to override your intuition. In other words, you go on a date and your intuition is like, no, this is not the person. And I don't even really want to finish this date. I think I should leave. And then all of a sudden you'll override it with your mind by saying, oh no, that's judgmental. And I'm not going to do that because I need to give this guy a chance. Like, he's so nice and he seems perfect. And you keep going back to the mind part where you're trying to control it and say, but he's everything I'm supposed to want. And my intuition is like, no, don't continue this date. And yet you're like, I'm just going to continue because I need to give him a chance. And that's way too judgmental. And I must be totally off. My intuition must be wrong. I can't listen to this because he's the perfect guy for me. You can see where that'll get you into a lot of trouble. Be aware, and also remember, be accepting of the times when you are going to try to override your intuition, argue with it, control it, judge it, and say, no, this is not what's right for me. You don't know anything. You might have a bit of rebellion in you like I did, and that's okay. That's okay. We come back to the acceptance and we say, okay, that's all right. I have this tendency to be like arguing with myself, but hey, how is that? What's that done for me? And how far has that gotten me? Maybe I need to do something different and go back to those practices where you're focusing on your heart, where you're processing your emotions, you're being open, you're working through the awareness, acceptance, and connection. You're doing your journaling. All of these things are going to develop your intuition in a holistic way. And last pieces of advice is go out and test it. Give it a try and actually go and listen to it. Follow those nudges and see what happens. You're going to be amazed by what actually unfolds when you start doing that. All right. Hopefully that has been helpful on all my best practices over the years of developing your intuition and some exercises that I do myself. And if you want to get into the first part of actually opening up your intuition around dating, you can give my Detox Unavailable Guys challenge a try. It's totally free, and it does have nice journaling exercises and things to get you started on being aware and accepting. Well, I really advise you to give that a try. And next week, we're going to talk about how to avoid dating burnout. And this is a question I got from my community. They wanted to know, how do you deal with dating burnout? We're going to talk about that. And it's going to be a 3-part series of 3 ways to use your intuition to avoid dating burnout. Be sure to stay tuned for that. And remember, love is closer than you think. Thanks for listening.